Okay, welcome fifth graders to the Digestive System test review lesson. The first thing you are going to need to know is the steps of the digestive system. And just like we talked about in class, I'm going to name my daughter actually after the steps of the digestive system. And it starts with the mouth, then it goes to the esophagus, then it goes to the stomach, then it goes to the small intestine, then it goes to the large intestine, and then it goes out the anus. And mesla are the steps of the digestive system. You're going to need to know that for the test. You are also going to need to be able to label this picture. Okay, so you need to memorize it. I'm going to white out the text in here, but I will give you a word bank. Okay, so you can use that word bank to help you fill in these. But let's go over them. You're also going to need to know the definitions of these. So this chart is really crucial. You're going to want to memorize the definitions as well as being able to label it and the steps of the digestive system. The mouth is where digestion begins because it physically breaks down the food. You have your saliva, okay, that puts juices into your mouth, and that saliva has chemicals in it to chemically break down the food. Okay, with your saliva, it helps turn the food into this clay type texture called bolus, and that makes it easier to go down the esophagus because it's kind of wet now rather than dry. So it goes down the esophagus and into the stomach, okay, which is right here. The liver, which is right here, and the pancreas both put chemical juices into the stomach and further break down the food into tiny, 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 tiny little pieces. The pieces are so tiny, in fact, they can actually fit through the walls of our cells. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. From the stomach, it then goes into the small intestine, which is right here. Now, talking about earlier when I said the food is broken down into real tiny, tiny pieces, the walls of the small intestine, okay, actually have tiny, tiny holes in it. Okay, so you can picture this, the walls of the small intestine. Okay, the walls have little holes in it. So the food is coming down the small intestine, and it can actually be absorbed through the walls of the small intestine. The food goes through these walls. Okay, so the food's coming down. The small intestine is absorbing the food through these little holes. Now, surrounding the small intestine are your veins. Okay, so the food then can go through the walls of the small intestine, through the walls of your veins, and now the food travels down your veins, right? The food goes through the walls here, through the wall there, and then it's traveling down the vein, and it goes to the cells. Okay, so your blood then takes the food to the rest of your body. That's so crucial to understand that. Once again, the stomach has broken down the food into tiny, tiny, tiny pieces, okay, because of the pancreas and the liver putting chemical juices in there. The chemical juices break down the food into super small pieces. The super small pieces then go into the small intestine. It goes down the tube, and the walls are so super thin, it goes through the walls of the small intestine, through the walls of your veins, into the blood, and then the blood takes it to your cells where we can grow and get all the nutrients we need. From the small intestine, the food then goes into the large intestine. At this point, most of the food has been removed and is now being used by the body. So at this point, you just have waste, this brown waste. It goes around to the large intestine. It's called the large intestine because it's bigger around, not because it's longer. And then it goes out the anus, which is right here. These are the things you're going to need to know for the digestive system.